Good morning, Richmond High. Today is Monday, February 8th, and my name is Stephanie.
Y mi nombre es Jessica Contreras.
And we are here to bring you the Richmond High Weekly News.
Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, evening TV. You miss your old familiar friends, but waiting just around the bend. Everywhere you look, there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, there's a love of somebody who needs you. When you're lost out there and you're all alone, life is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look.
Students, this is our last week before break. We will have no school from February 15th all the way through the 19th. Make sure you complete all your assignments so you have time to rest during that time.
Estudiantes, esta semana es la última semana antes del descanso. No habrá escuela del 15 al 19 de febrero. Asegúrense de terminar todos sus trabajos para poder descansar durante este tiempo.
I thought about how much I wanted to talk about news that is happening all around the world. So, our announcements are going to look a little bit different from now on. This week, we'll be talking about 2 executive orders Biden has signed during his first 100 days in office. The first action is the Paris Climate Agreement, which rejoins the Paris Climate Accord, ultimately limiting global warming. Our second one is an executive order on supporting the reopening and continuing operation of schools and early childhood education providers. It directs the Department of Education and provides guidance for safely reopening and operating schools, childhood providers, and institutions of higher education. What do you think about going back to school in person? Drop a comment to let us know what you think.
Esta semana hablaremos de 2 acciones ejecutivas de Biden que ha firmado durante sus primeros 100 días en el cargo. La primera acción es el Acuerdo Climático de París, que se une al Acuerdo Climático de París, limitando en última instancia el calentamiento global. Nuestra segunda es una orden ejecutiva de apoyo a la reapertura y funcionamiento continuo de escuelas y proveedores de educación infantil temprana. Dirige el Departamento de Educación y proporciona orientación para recibir y operar de manera segura escuelas, proveedores de cuidado infantil e instrucciones de educación superior. ¿Qué opinas de volver a la escuela en persona? Déjanos saber en los comentarios de abajo.
That's all we have for announcements. Coming right up, take a look what our students are up to during distance learning.
In 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood District, known as Black Wall Street, was one of the most prosperous African-American communities in the United States. But on May 1st of that year, the Tulsa Tribune reported that a black man, Dick Rowland, attempted to rape a white woman, Sarah Page. Whites in the area refused to wait for the investigative process to play out, sparking 2 days of unprecedented racial violence. 35 city blocks went up in flames, 300 people died, and 800 were injured. Defense of white female virtue was the expressed motivation for the collective racial violence. Accounts vary on what happened between Page and Rowland in the elevator of the Drexel building, yet, as a result of the Tulsa Tribune's racially inflammatory report, black and white armed mobs arrived at the courthouse. Scuffles broke out and shots were fired. Since blacks were outnumbered, they headed back to Greenwood, but enraged whites were not far behind, looting and burning businesses and homes along the way. The creation of the powerful black community, known as Black Wall Street, was intentional. In 1906, O.W. Gurley, a wealthy African-American from Arkansas, moved to Tulsa and purchased over 40 acres of land that he made sure was only sold to other African-Americans. Gurley provided an opportunity for those migrating from the harsh oppression of Mississippi. The average income of black families in the area exceeded what minimum wage is today. As a result of segregation, a dollar circulated 36 to 100 times and remained in Greenwood almost a year before leaving. Even more impressive, at that time, the state of Oklahoma had only 2 airports, yet 6 black families owned their own planes. As a result of mass migrations to the area, driven in part by increased job opportunities, Tulsa became the city with the most African Americans in the state. With the boom in the black population and demands for equality, perceptions of discrimination and shared experience among African Americans allowed for little time for adaptation among whites. Tulsa's rapid change in racial demographics made the city ripe for a riot motivated by white animosity against black economic progress. Whites of the area equated improvements in wages and working conditions as communistic threats. In essence, whites were resentful that blacks no longer passively accepted second-class citizenship in their own homeland. Tulsa newspapers regularly referred to the Greenwood District as Little Africa and Town. African Americans in the district were labeled bad, who drank booze, took dope, and ran around with guns. Perhaps as a result of government officials' stereotyping rhetoric and the media's biased reporting, whites and blacks interpreted the racial violence differently. Generally, white politicians and residents perceived the black community as predisposed to crime and in need of social control. In other words, due to assumptions of black criminality, whites justified deadly violence on Black Wall Street because blacks needed to be subjugated. The Tulsa World newspaper inflamed tensions between blacks and whites by suggesting that the Ku Klux Klan could restore order in the community. Since the KKK asserted white superiority with terroristic acts such as lynchings, the mere suggestion from a mainstream newspaper that the KKK should intervene demonstrates how white supremacy was not only legitimized but also promoted with legal impunity. In the early 1900s, there was a rise in black nationalist organizations that refused to cower in the face of KKK violence or submit to societal subordination. Whites responded to black pride and demands of equality, social control, including segregation, lynchings, and pogroms. Basically, blacks' desire for social progress and assertion of their rights was seen as a grave bait to white hegemony. Portraying all blacks as criminals served the black inferiority narrative, maintained Jim Crow segregation, and promoted the violent enforcement of racist ideologies. For instance, the racial framing of blacks as criminals legitimized white congregation at the courthouse and the subsequent destruction of the Greenwood area. Consequently, it's no surprise that blacks perceived the riot started by whites as a massacre of their community. The massacre of Black Wall Street primarily occurred due to whites' generalized perception that African Americans were out of line and needed to be put back in their place. In essence, African Americans posed a geographical problem because their community was situated in an ideal location for business expansion. The government and private industry worked in concert to bring down land prices and maintain white dominance in the Tulsa area. Poor whites' resentment of successful landowning blacks allowed elite whites to use them as pawns to obtain more land, wealth, and prosperity. Judging by the legal impunity granted to whites by law enforcement, the state endorsed and in fact supported the Tulsa riot for self-serving, capitalistic gains. By 1940, the Greenwood District was rebuilt, but due to immigration during the Civil Rights era, it never regained as much prominence. The fate of Black Wall Street illustrates that as long as power remains in the hand of the elite, mainly white families, America's social economic system can be marshaled to support and advance the tenets of white supremacy. Regardless of the progress made by prominent African Americans, American capitalism is structured to keep a white segment of society ahead of the remaining marginalized many.
As part of community-wide efforts to address racial and social injustice and inequality, the City of Richmond has launched the Reimagining Public Safety Community Task Force. This 21-member group is tasked with engaging in work related to public safety. Public safety conversations include, but aren't limited to, policing, housing, and mental health. Ultimately, they will make recommendations to the Richmond City Council. The group is opening up to have conversation with community members. Join them on Zoom next week on Thursday, February 18th to talk about homelessness in the community. You can share your ideas or listen to others talk about what they envision for the future of Richmond. The Hacienda Heights Senior Housing Complex on 13th and Barrett will be opening in the near future. Local social justice-focused artists are brainstorming ideas for a mural at the housing complex. The theme is History of Richmond. Please fill out their survey and provide your ideas of what comes to your mind when you think of Richmond and Richmond history. We're particularly looking for youth and student voice. Down below is the survey link.
The Y Scholars Program, a college readiness program at the YMCA Teen Center in Berkeley, is recruiting new scholars. Our mission is to guide first-gen high school students so they will pursue and obtain a college education. We will offer weekly workshops, tutoring, individual coaching, and family engagement. Once students become a Y Scholar, they will be able to be in the program until they finish high school. They will meet 2 to 3 hours a week after school and during the summer. They will focus on learning about college, growth mindset, study and organizational skills, financial aid info, and how to form healthy relationships. The program has been serving first-gen students since 2000. Over 600 Y Scholars have graduated from our program, and 98% of the Y Scholars enroll in college after high school. Since COVID hit in March, we have transitioned to functioning 100% online. Rather than seeing challenges, we saw this as an opportunity to expand our mission beyond our typical areas of service. We want to connect with students out there who are looking for more personalized support to create their college pathway. Students can find out more and apply at www.yscholars.org/join. Hey seniors! There's less than a month to turn in your financial aid application. Just a friendly reminder that FAFSA and California Dream Act applications are due by March 2nd. Every senior needs to submit their financial aid application regardless of their post-secondary plan. If you need help or have questions, come to Cash Out Wednesday at 3:20 and check out the link below to receive the Zoom link and a reminder. Hey Oilers! This year, the West Contra Costa EAOP and DCAC advisors have collaborated to bring you all the First Gen series. First Gen series is designed to provide first generation students with information about various pathways that they may pursue after high school and promote their professional development. These webinars will happen on Wednesdays. We will be having a career tech panel, a professional development workshop focusing on topics such as networking, professionalism, and resumes, a financial literacy workshop focusing on college budgeting and financial resources, and an opportunity fair with several career pathways represented such as law, engineering, nonprofit, education, and more. You can register on tinyurl.com/firstgen21 or by scanning the QR code on the screen. Hope to see you all there.
That's our show for today. Tune in next week for your Richmond High weekly news. Bye, Richmond High.
Adios, Richmond High.